Maradunk tenger közelben, és elutazunk virtuálisan Szlovéniába. A Koperi Kikötő, mint a magyar konténerforgalom egyik legstabilabb partnere. Az előadást pedig Borut Šemrl tartja, a Koperi Kikötő magyarországi képviselője, akit szerintem majdnem mindannyian személyesen is jól ismerünk a terembe. Kérdezzük.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Actually, last year I said I would be making this presentation in Hungarian, which will not be the case, unfortunately. But let's postpone this to next year. And I promise, that was a promise made to myself the last year, but this year I'm making a promise to everybody here that my next presentation at this conference will be made in Hungarian, although maybe not without mistakes, and maybe not without the help of some document over here. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity. We have been hearing a lot of things about the global situation in the container market, but let me just start with giving a picture of what is happening or what happened in Koper, in the port of Koper, in the past year or in this year, in the past months. So, you know, we are a multi-purpose port with several different terminals where we handle different cargo groups. We had mixed fortunes with the throughput of the cargo groups because of COVID, because of other trends and influences, like environment issues regarding the coal handling. The coal volumes are much less than in the past due to the environment goals of the hinterland markets. We also suffered quite a lot in the steel throughput business because obviously of car factories shutting down temporarily. The car business itself, the finished car business, suffered quite a lot because of COVID, because of shutting down of factories, as mentioned, but also because of shortage of microchips lately. So even considering this fact, we are happy not to have lost that much volume as other car terminals in Europe. So now we can say that we are fifth largest finished vehicles terminal in Europe. So we lost something, but not as much as other terminals. On the dry bulk terminal, we see stable volumes of soybean meal, which is coming from South America mainly, used as a fodder on the hinterland markets. The largest quantities actually come to Hungary. And we see that Koper is becoming sort of a hub, import hub for fertilizers nowadays. So a huge increase of fertilizers in import, again, mostly for the Hungarian market. We also see project cargo throughput increase. Mainly they are project cargoes, equipment and production lines on flat tracks, which are the destinations are the huge construction sites of the battery factories and the tier 1 and tier 2 supplier factories in Hungary. So the big Eska Innovation, Samsung, and so on. And what we see, and I will later show on with a slide, is the huge increase, 30% of reefer cargo in the port, which was also Carolina mentioned. Ciao, Carolina. So what happened is that in the COVID times, as Carolina mentioned, there are unpredictable arrivals of the mother vessels, delays of them, then they group together, and then we have 4 in a row, which coupled with the lower productivity due to the fact that because of anti-COVID measures, we do not bind the shifts, but leave an hour in between shifts for disinfection of the workplaces, and we avoid the mixing of the shift workers in the locker rooms. Actually affected our productivity a bit, and of course it affected very much what the intermodal operators will know very well. Departure of trains which have fixed time slots for entry into the port, and routes designated, planned, and then of course this arrival, irregular arrivals of the mother vessels mixes everything up and causes problems. Plus, of course, as Mr. Attila rightly said, there is always the problem of the railway infrastructure from Koper to the hinterland markets. I will show later on that something is moving in a better direction. Anyway, there have been delays on the infrastructure due to many sites opened for the modernization of the whole railway infrastructure, not that much the existing Koper-Divača rail track, which remains a bottleneck, absolutely. So that is why we do have a longer dwell time of containers in Koper than I heard Trieste has. That is, of course, something we would like to avoid. Plus, I must say that we are operating because of this huge container volume which is coming. You will well know that we handle more containers from mother vessels than the neighboring ports. So we are talking sometimes about 5,000 moves per vessel. This fills up our container yard, which is sometimes running at very high utilization rates. And this fact by itself is causing some problems. So, to avoid having problems with capacity in the future, we are doing our homework in Koper, and we are late. Yes, we are. We had several issues, be it environmental permits, be it the opposition of the mayor, the previous mayor of Koper, and so on and so on. Anyway, we finally managed this year to complete the prolongation of the container terminal pier, so the quayside, which is now finished, already in use. You can see that the two superposed Panamax cranes are already on the tracks on this part, and now we are building in the hinterland of this, or let's say in the northern direction, a new stacking area, which will be finished in the first half of next year, which will give 25,000 square meters more capacity on the storage area. With some reorganization of work processes, this should bring our nominal annual capacity to 1.5 million TEUs. In March, we had a record throughput of 97,000 TEUs. That means that practically we already have a 1.2 million TEU capacity now, and it will be increased to 1.5. But we are not stopping there. So I would like to tell a few words about our plans for the future. These plans will be possible or only because works on the new Koper-Divača track have started, as I will show later on. So we're talking about work starting in 2022 and hopefully finishing in 25, when also the track will be finished. So things should start being better in 26. I know it's far away, but still something is moving. So on this slide, I am showing that. So So this is the prolongation, which is already done. This is a stacking area which will be finished next year. And then we will move on with this part over here, adding a new berth, 2 more rail tracks on this part. And we are now acquiring 2 additional super post-Panamax cranes. So there will be 4. And this part is now being reconstructed to allow the load capacity is being increased of the pier, so that the superposed Panamax cranes will be able to move on the whole length. I'm not talking about now actual dates or years, but the idea is to dig into this part and prolong the basin for another, and in this way gain another 150 meters of quayside. And in total, this will mean 850 meters of quayside, which will allow the berthing of 2 mother vessels, which now, unfortunately, with the prolongation is not possible. We, however, can do a big mother vessel plus a very big feeder at the same time on the southern part. So when this will be constructed, the feeder business will move over here. That's the plan. And in the meantime, we will do these works. The post-Panamax cranes will be moved over here, and we will then buy more cranes for this whole quayside. So we have the plans. We even have an environment permit, which is very important in Slovenia. You can't do anything without that, and there are usually several civil initiatives which are blocking everything. But hopefully in the next years, this will happen. We also, after this, let's say this will bring the capacity to approximately 2 million TEUs, and if necessary, these tanks of the liquid bulk terminal can be moved, and all this can be used and bring the capacity to even bigger numbers. So this is a picture of how it looks today, and I just draw some lines to show how this new area will look like. Unfortunately, we cannot move more outside, so we have to dig in this part because the National Spatial Plan just limits us with the length of the pier. We're not stopping there. We are doing other investments in the port. We have recently opened a 3rd truck gate. Many of you know that we had only 1 gate in the previous years. We now have 3. This is the 3rd one, which is dedicated to container trucks. And this is actually located very close to the highway. When you come down from the highway, there is a road which will become a 4-lane road soon. Hopefully the government will do its job soon. And from the roundabout, you just enter into this. It's open only during the day, but it gives another possibility. This is actually the depot area, and this is the road where you can enter very quickly to the container terminal. Besides that, we have to move from the existing truck terminal, which is located quite near to the city center. So we are planning to build a new one. This is the location over here. So this is the rail coming in, and this is the road coming from the highway. This is the previously mentioned 3rd truck gate. This is the 2nd truck gate. So you come over this bridge and you make a turn and you go in through the 2nd truck gate. So the truck terminal will be located on this area. This is sort of a visualization of how it will be looking in a few years. Very important thing is that, okay, there is a spatial plan which is valid and which limits the area where the port can expand. But we had difficulties gaining this land in the past years. So now finally there is agreement within the two ports, because there actually, you may not know, we have a new small municipality called Ankaran, which was politically established by the Constitutional Court, which is quite interesting, but okay, never mind. So it divides the port into two. This is the river Rejana is actually the boundary between the two. So there were several issues between the new and the old municipality and the government and Luka Koper in between. But finally, things are moving here, and this is an area where we will expand our business in the future. So also these are to be purchased by Luka Koper, but this is quite a huge area where new possibilities await us. Coming back to Koper Divača, Mr. Zohalka said about 10 years of the government not doing anything. I would say that we can freely say that it was 20 or 30 years. Well, you know, the state secretary said before that there were talks with the Hungarian government. This government in Slovenia, which eventually stepped down just because of the second railway track, Koper Divača, stated, the Minister of Infrastructure stated when he began the mandate that we don't need a new track. So this statement was based upon a study which was ordered by the government, and who wrote it? A former marketing director of Hamburg Port. So what can I say? So it's been a long way, but finally the previous government, the one before this actual one, really did a good job by pushing this project, by finding the finance. And so now things have started. So actually they're excavating, which is quite, we are very happy about this. Unfortunately, it will take some time. So the new railway track will be operative in the beginning of 26. It's quite a feat, engineering feat. You have to take care of the special environment. This is the karst area, and a lot of tunnels, a lot of bridges, and so on. A nice picture over here. I found it on the website of the company which is building the rail track. So there are 8 tunnels, and you can see there are a lot of kilometers run through the tunnels because of this huge altitude difference, which is the same also in Rijeka or maybe in Trieste with all South European ports, I would say. There is some steep cliff or hill behind. So this is, Divača, this is 27 kilometers, 20.5 run into tunnels. And it is a single track for the time being, but fortunately, we have built these service tunnels with a normal width, so they can be easily transformed into a double track. So procedures are already going on for permits to build double track in the future. In the meantime, probably we will still use the old track, which comes down here and goes up and down. So actually, this the old track was built in 1967 by Luka Koper, by its own money, because there was not an interest from the government even then. So this is the worldsheet you pass when you're going to Koper. Let's say Vasúti worldsheet will be underneath it, and this is all mainly tunnels. This will allow, of course, bigger capacity, higher transit speed and shorter transit time eventually. The problem is that nowadays it's not the Koperi Divača old track which is making problems or being a bottleneck that much, but there are other modernization works going on in Slovenia, namely from Divača to Ljubljana. So they are closing the one track of the double track, which causes the delays and the higher dwell time of containers in Koper. Interestingly enough, in the first 9 months of this year, we have increased container throughput by 6%. Even though we are having what clients call a congestion, even we are having a limitation for export containers, but we are increasing the volume. This year we will reach, or maybe not reach, the 1 million TEU mark. Doesn't really matter that much, but it'll be close. November, as Carolina said, was not a good year. There were a lot of blank voyages from the Ocean Alliance and so on, and delays, and then you have a mother vessel which is moved into the next month or the next year, so you miss that volume. We will need 86,000 TEU throughput in December to reach that volume. The huge increase in reefer cargo. What is new is the chemicals coming for the battery factories and the finished batteries, which are imported, sometimes also exported, but in Koper mainly imported. This has caused some problems. Although we have quite some reefer plugs, more than all the other ports in the Adriatic together. But this means that we have to go into investments in this segment as well. So we are planning to build new plugs for the reefer business on the terminal and in other locations, also on the depot. We also have a reefer terminal which Hungarian clients really don't use much. It gives an option. Sometimes if there's a reefer cargo, you can unload it easily in Koper and truck it to the market. For some markets, this is a very nice business. It's mainly fruits and vegetables from Israel and Egypt for hinterland markets, but also some other commodities as well. We, together with the increased capacities and the new investments, we are investing also in the IT support of our operations. And one of them is the vehicle booking system, which is in force already for some time, not without initial problems, but it allows a transparency and better planning and shorter, let's say, waiting times, shorter times of dwell times of the trucks inside the port, and it can be easily operated through an application, web-based application on a tablet or on a smartphone, on a PC. So this is one of the new IT products we have. And we have an edifact which may not mean that much. It didn't mean that much to me, so I had to look it up on the Google, really. But it is sort of requested by the shipping lines, the container shipping lines, and it is sort of a set of messages, automatically transmitted messages, which allow for a fast, clear transmission of important information regarding the containers, how much of them there are, what are the goods inside, the destinations, and so on and so on. So there were different messages, and we had to couple this with the existing Luca Koper IT system for the local community, for the forwarders, for the agents. So we are finally introducing this in the future. So this should allow let's say that this is the meeting the request of the shipping line, so we are just bringing the quality of our service up to the needs of the batteries. Okay. Let me just finish. So a few words about what we still think is our competitive advantage in Koper. Maybe some very flexible custom procedures, the possibility of pre-clearance on the ship, and so on and so on. I think we also have a professional and high-quality port community, and well, that's about it. So thank you for the attention. The battery of this is finished. So yeah, the next presentator will have some problems, I guess. Thank you for the attention, and see you next year in Hungarian.
Köszönjük szépen, és akkor most kávészünet.